Hello, I'm Matthew Mitchell, convener for Introduction to Programming, and in this short video we're going to look at two types of loops, pre-test loops and post-test loops. A post-test loop is one where the code execution comes along and we execute this block of code, some number of lines of code, and then we come to this condition, which is a bit like the conditions we saw for if statements. And if the condition is true, then we come back around and execute that again, and we keep looping, iterating, and executing that code until the condition is false, and then we go on and do the rest of the program. So that's the post-test loop. The pre-test loop is similar, except the condition is before the code, the block of code. So we come down, we test the condition, and if it's true, we do block of code, and then we keep doing the block of code while it's true, and then when it's false, we leave. So the main difference is that this block of code will get executed at least once because we don't test the condition till after. This one may never be executed. Otherwise, they both work very similarly. Loops often require control variables. We won't look at that in the video today. We'll come back to that in another one, but we will look at these two loops. Here's the code we've been working on. So we have a couple of string variables here that hold prompts. We also have some prompts in here that are just hard-coded string literals. But basically this program works as follows. We read the user name, display the prompt, ask the user to type something in. We get the user's name, and then we read the user's age. And again, we display the prompt, and this time we get back the age. But this is an integer. Username is a string, user age is an integer. And then we print the username, and then we print the user age, along with a message. So print user age, that's where we display the prompt. That's where we display the age, but we also display this additional message. We test the age, and if it's between 1 and 24, we put out this message. It's between 25 and 35, we put out this message. It's between 36 and 46, this message. And if it's none of those things, then we have this else condition, and we say the user is either under 1 or over 46. Now, if the user was under 1, we probably don't really want to consider that as a valid age. We don't really want to be dealing with negative ages, that doesn't make sense. Similarly, if the user is over 120, say, then there's probably an error as well. That's probably a mistake. We probably don't want to allow that. So what we might want to do is fix up this read user age function and make it so that we're forcing the user to put an age that is greater than 0 and less than 120. So let's do that. So let's say while age, now the age needs to be an integer, so let's just make sure we change it to an integer once we read it. That'll get the age, that'll change it to an integer, and that'll store it in there, because we're going to be testing integers here. So while the age is less than 1, and this symbol means or the age is, say, greater than 120, then what do we want to do? We want to get it again. So we might put string incorrect age entered, please re-enter. Alright, and then we want to get the age again. And we want to make sure that it's an integer. Alright, so that's our code there. We have an end. We probably don't need to make that an integer again there, since we're making an integer there and we're making an integer there. So this is saying get the age from the user. If it's less than 1 or it's greater than 120, then print out incorrect age entered, please re-enter, and ask them to enter it again. And then what happens is we come back around to the top and we do this test again. And if the test is true, then we'll go back into the code again. If it's false, we'll jump out and we'll keep coming down here. So let's just try that and see what that looks like when we run that. Sure, I've saved that. Try that again. Put in -1. Incorrect age entered. Please re-enter. Alright, I'll try 144. Incorrect age entered. Please re-enter. So now I'll put in a valid age, 45. And now that's okay. We skip out of the loop and we continue on with the program, coming down to execute the print username, print user age. All right, so that's one way of doing it. That loop's okay, but we have this bit of code here, and then we have a very similar piece of code here. So what if we were to get rid of that piece of code and just have the prompt here? Now, this isn't going to work because we haven't got anything to work with before we do the test. So we need to take that test, and we need to put it down here on the same line as the end. And then we need to go begin. So this is our block of code. And what happens is we're going to do this at least once. Before we do anything, we're going to display the prompt and we're going to get an age. Then we do the test. If the age is less than 1 or it's greater than 120, we're going to come around and we're going to ask the user to enter it again. We're going to keep asking until they type in an age that we think is acceptable. Once they do that, that'll be false, and then we'll continue on with the program. So let's have a look at how that works. So I'm going to put in the name again. I'm going to put in an invalid age, like before, -1, 144. So it's looping around. It's getting an age, saying, look, that's less than 1. It's coming around again. It's getting another age. It's saying that's greater than 120, and it's coming around again. So now I'm going to put in a valid age, and then it skips that test and goes on, and, or doesn't skip it, fails that test, so it doesn't come around again, and then it goes on and continues through the rest of the program. So that, but there is a difference here. This, now we're just saying, please enter the user's age, please enter the user's age. We're not telling the user that there's anything wrong. Whereas before, we had incorrect age entered, please re-enter, after they typed it in, one that we didn't want. So there is a cost to this, that the prompt is always the same, whether you typed in the correct age or not. But the code is much simpler. We've got rid of those 2 lines of code and we've reduced the size of this function. So anyway, I hope that helped you understand loops.